Taylor Sheridan does not do happy endings. He does temporary relief. He gives you just enough warmth to make you drop your guard, and then he pulls the rug from right under your feet. And that is exactly what I think is coming in Landman Season 3. Because yes, the Season 2 finale gave us what felt like a fresh start. Tommy has his company. Angela is back. Cooper and Ariana are engaged. Cammy is still standing. Everything looks like it's finally falling into place. But here is the thing that is keeping me up at night. A trailer has leaked. Spoilers are floating around. And what I am about to tell you is going to completely change the way you are feeling about Season 3 right now. Because if even half of what has leaked turns out to be true, this season is going to be the most brutal, the most emotional, and the most unpredictable chapter this show has ever delivered. So if you thought Season 2 was intense, buckle up. Because Season 3 is coming to destroy everything these characters have built. And it is going to do it in the most Taylor Sheridan way possible. Let me start with what everyone is talking about. Because the moment clips and footage from what appears to be an early Season 3 trailer started circulating online, the Landman fanbase absolutely lost its mind. And honestly, I get it. Because even in just those few seconds of raw, unpolished footage, you could feel the shift in energy. Season 2 had this underlying tension to it. This sense of things barely holding together, but there was still warmth in it. There was still heart. What leaked from Season 3 feels colder, sharper. Like the show has moved into a completely different gear, and everybody involved knows that the stakes are not the same anymore. Now, the footage that leaked is not a clean, polished official trailer. It looks like early cut material, possibly from an internal screening or a promotional reel that was never meant to go public. But that actually makes it more interesting to me, because early cuts tend to be more honest. Studios have not had the chance to carefully select the safest, least spoilery moments. What got out gives us a much rawer look at the direction this season is heading. And that direction, it looks like chaos wrapped in expensive suits in Texas. Dusta, the very first thing people noticed in the leaked footage is Tommy. And not the Tommy we left at the end of Season 2 who was riding high on ambition and momentum. This Tommy looks like a man who has been through something. His face is harder. His jaw is set differently. There is this weight behind his eyes that feels different from the usual Tommy grind energy we are used to seeing. Now, that could mean 100 different things. Maybe the new company hit a wall early. Maybe someone he trusted let him down. Maybe the business world hit back harder than he expected. But whatever happened between the end of Season 2 and wherever this footage picks up, something has clearly shifted for Tommy on a very deep level. And that alone is enough to make me nervous. Because Tommy Miller is not the kind of man who shows that kind of weight easily. Then there is the matter of CT oil exploration and cattle. The company Tommy essentially built from scratch with his core people. On paper, it is the dream setup. Cooper as president, Tommy as vice president, Rebecca as coup and chief counsel, Nate handling the money, boss running the crew, Dale leading exploration, Thomas on drilling, and Ariana managing the office. That is an incredibly tight, loyal, capable group. But the leaked footage seems to suggest that this perfect setup is already under serious pressure before the season even gets going properly. There are glimpses of what looks like heated conversations in office settings. People talking over each other, tension in rooms that should feel like safe spaces. And one particular moment in the leaked footage shows what looks like a confrontation between two people inside what could be the CT oil offices. Though it is hard to confirm exactly who is involved because the footage quality is not perfect. What makes this interesting is what the co-creator Christian Wallace already said before any of this leaked. He talked about these characters entering into completely different dynamics with one another, describing it as family, very small, starting almost from scratch. He framed it as a new dynamic. At the time, that sounded like exciting, fresh territory. But looking at the leaked footage now, I am starting to wonder if that new dynamic comes with a lot more friction and pain than any of us were prepared for. Because putting people who love each other inside a high-pressure business situation does not always bring out the best in them. It often brings out things that were buried. Resentments, old wounds, competing visions of what success is supposed to look like. And when the stakes are financial survival with $40 million of Galino's money on the line, none of those buried things stay buried for long. Speaking of Galino, his presence in the leaked material is something fans are already dissecting like crazy. Because Galino was never just a money guy. He was always someone who understood power. And more importantly, someone who understood how to use the people around him to grow that power. He gave Tommy $40 million, and he did it because he saw Tommy as a mastermind. But investors who think in those terms do not stay passive. They do not sit back and wait for returns without getting involved in how those returns are generated. The leaked footage appears to show Galeno in what looks like a very different energy than we saw in season 2. Less relaxed, more demanding. And if Galeno starts pushing on the way Tommy runs CT Oil, that is going to create a conflict that Tommy is not going to handle quietly. Because Tommy does not take well to people questioning his process, especially when that process is the whole reason they gave him the money in the first place. This right here is where I think season 3 starts to get genuinely dangerous for everyone involved. Not just professionally, personally, because when business and loyalty and money and ego all collide in a space this small and this tight, somebody always ends up getting burned. Let me be honest with you about something. Out of every storyline heading into season 3, Cooper and Ariana's is the one that has me the most emotionally invested and the most genuinely terrified at the same time. Because these two have been through so much already, seasoned to put them through the kind of pressure that breaks most couples before they even get close to the finish line. And yet they made it. They held on to each other through every storm, every threat, every moment where it would have been easier to just let go. And now they are engaged. They are getting married in season 3. That should feel like a victory. That should feel like the universe finally giving these to something beautiful after everything they survived. But the leaked footage and the spoilers circulating right now are painting a very different picture. And I need to walk you through it carefully. Because what is coming for Cooper and Ariana is not simple, and it is not clean. And it is absolutely not going to go the way we are hoping. Let us go back to what happened at the end of season 2. Because context matters here more than ever. Ariana was assaulted, Cooper saved her, and in the process of saving her, he went further than he probably should have. The man he fought died, and yes, we later learned it was a heart attack that actually killed him, not the punches Cooper threw. But that distinction, as important as it is to us as viewers who know the full picture, means absolutely nothing to the people who wanted Cooper locked up for it. And this is the part that the leaked spoilers are now expanding on in a way that is genuinely chilling. Because the shady businessman who is pushing so hard to have Cooper charged with murder, he did not go away when the charges did not stick the way he planned. He regrouped, and according to what has leaked, he is coming back in season 3 with a completely different strategy. One that is far more patient, far more calculated, and far more dangerous than just trying to put Cooper behind bars. This man does not just want Cooper punished anymore. What the spoilers suggest is that he wants Cooper dismantled, professionally, personally, and socially. And the terrifying thing about that kind of enemy is that he does not need to come at you directly. He can work through systems, through connections, through money and influence, and the kind of quiet pressure that most people never even see coming until it is already too late. And Cooper, for all his strength and loyalty and genuine goodness as a person, is not built to fight that kind of invisible war. He is built for directness, for confrontation that has a face and a location and a moment where you can step up and deal with it. What this man is planning does not work that way. And that gap between how Cooper fights and how this enemy operates is exactly where the danger lives. In season 3. Now, here's where the leaked footage comes in and makes all of this feel devastatingly real. There is a moment, brief but striking, where you see what appears to be Cooper in a setting that looks very much like a legal environment. Not a courtroom necessarily, but somewhere formal. Somewhere that has that particular energy of people being very careful about what they say and how they say it. And the expression on his face in that moment is not anger. It is not defiance. It is something quieter and more unsettling than either of those things. It looks like a man who is beginning to understand that the fight he is in is one he might not be able to win the way he knows how to win. And for Cooper, a character who has always pushed through on sheer will and love and determination, that realization landing on his face is one of the most quietly devastating things I have seen in any leaked material from this show. And then there is Ariana, because Ariana is not just a passive figure in all of this. She is the office manager of CT Oil now. She is embedded in the new company. She is building something real alongside people she trusts. And the spoilers suggest that this businessman who is going after Cooper is smart enough to understand that the most effective way to destroy a man like Cooper is not to come for him directly. It is to come for the things and the people he loves most. Which means Ariana is not safe just because she has a new job title and a ring on her finger. In fact, the leaked material hints that Ariana herself may become a target in season 3. Not through physical danger this time, but through something more insidious. Pressure, manipulation. Someone trying to use her position inside. CT oil to get leverage over Cooper and possibly over Tommy at the same time. And if that is true, it turns their upcoming wedding from a celebration into something that feels much more like two people trying to hold on to each other while the world does everything it can to pull them apart. What makes this storyline hit even harder when you sit with it is the fact that Cooper is now the president of CT Oil. That title comes with visibility. It comes with exposure. It means that every move he makes professionally is now public-facing in a way that it never was before, when he was just a landman doing deals in the field. And a man with enemies and a public profile and $40 million of investor money attached to his name is a man who becomes a very attractive target very quickly. The spoilers suggest that the pressure on Cooper in season 3 is going to come from multiple directions at the same time. Legal pressure from the situation that never fully resolved. Business pressure from the weight of running a brand new company. Personal pressure from trying to protect Ariana while also being present enough to actually build a marriage with her. And emotional pressure from knowing that the people around him, Tommy, Rebecca, Nate, all of them, are also depending on him to hold it together when everything is pulling him apart. I keep coming back to something that has been bothering me since I first read through these spoilers. And it is this. Cooper's wedding in season 3 is supposed to be a happy moment, a milestone, something this show has been building toward since these two characters first found each other. But Taylor Sheridan has never once used a happy milestone in any of his shows without attaching something dark to it. Weddings in his world are not just celebrations. They are turning points. They are moments where everything that has been quietly building underneath the surface finally has a reason to come exploding out. And based on everything that has leaked, I think Cooper and Ariana's wedding might be the exact moment in season 3 where the season pivots from tension into full crisis mode. I genuinely hope I am wrong about that. I love these two characters more than I probably should, but I have watched enough Taylor Sheridan television to know that the moments that feel the most like hope are usually the moments right before the fall. And right now, for Cooper and Ariana, everything feels a little too much like hope. There is something I want you to think about for a second. Tommy Miller spent the entire first 2 seasons of Landman fighting for other people's companies, fighting for MTech's, fighting for Monty's vision, fighting for a structure that was never really his, inside a world that never fully respected what he brought to the table. And now, for the first time, he is fighting for something that actually belongs to him. CT Oil exploration and cattle is his. The people inside it are his people. The vision driving it is his vision. And that should feel like the most empowering, most satisfying development this show has ever given him. But here is what the leaked spoilers are telling us. Having something that is truly yours does not make you stronger in Taylor Sheridan's world. It makes you vulnerable in ways you have never been vulnerable before. Because now Tommy does not just have a job to lose, he has everything to lose. And season 3 appears to be fully aware of that fact and completely prepared to use it against him in the most ruthless way possible. Let us start with the business side of things, because that is where the leaked footage is sending the loudest signals. CT Oil is a brand new company. It has $40 million from Galeno, a dream team of loyal people, and Tommy's instincts driving the whole operation. On paper, that is a strong foundation. But the oil and gas industry does not care about loyalty or instincts or how tight your crew is. It cares about results, about timing, about who you know and who knows you, and whether the people with real institutional power in that space decide to let you play or decide to make sure you cannot. And the leaked spoilers suggest that CT Oil's entry into the market is not going to be welcomed with open arms by everyone. There are established players in the Texas oil world who are not happy about Tommy building something independent. People who were comfortable with him being a hired gun working inside someone else's structure, but who become very uncomfortable the moment he steps into the room as a principal rather than an employee. And uncomfortable, powerful people in Taylor Sheridan's universe have a very specific way of expressing that discomfort. They do not confront you, they obstruct you, they slow things down. They work the edges of your operation until the pressure becomes unbearable. And from what has leaked, that is exactly the kind of resistance CT Oil is going to face in season 3 from the very beginning. But here's what makes this even more complicated and even more interesting from a storytelling perspective. Tommy cannot fight that kind of institutional resistance the same way he fought things at MTEX. At MTEX, he had the backing of a large company behind him even when things were falling apart. He had infrastructure. He had a name that people in the industry already recognized and respected. CT Oil has none of that yet. It is new, it is small, and being small in an industry run by giants means that every mistake costs more, every delay hurts more, and every enemy you make carries more weight than it would if you were operating from a position of established strength. Tommy knows this. He is not naive about it, but knowing something intellectually and experiencing it in real time, when your own money and your own people and your own name are on the line, are two completely different things. And the leaked footage hints that Season 3 is going to put Tommy through that specific education in the hardest way possible. Now let us talk about Angela. Because Angela coming back and agreeing to remarry. Tommy is one of the most emotionally satisfying developments from the Season 2 finale. These two are chaotic and complicated and sometimes completely impossible with each other. But there is something undeniably real between them that the show has never let you forget, even when they were at their worst. And the fact that they are choosing each other again, deliberately, with full knowledge of everything they put each other through, that means something. It feels like growth. It feels like two people who finally understand each other well enough to try again with clear eyes. But the leak spoilers are suggesting that Angela's return to Tommy's life in Season 3 is going to be tested almost immediately, and not in the ways you might expect. The spoilers indicate that Angela in Season 3 is not content to simply be Tommy's partner in the background while he builds his company. She has her own perspective on how their life should look now that they are remarrying. She has ideas about what this second chance means and what it requires from both of them. And those ideas do not always line up with the reality of what Tommy's life actually looks like when you are running a startup oil company with $40 million of someone else's money and a crew of people who all need things from you constantly. The leaked material suggests there are moments in Season 3 where the tension between Tommy the businessman and Tommy the husband becomes genuinely sharp, where Angela is asking for something that is completely reasonable and completely fair, and Tommy simply does not have the bandwidth to give it to her because the company is pulling him in 17 different directions at the same time. And that specific tension, the one where neither person is wrong but the situation still tears at them anyway, is the kind of tension that Sheridan writes better than almost anyone working in television write. Now, there is also something the leaked spoilers touch on that I think is going to become one of the most talked about storylines of the entire season, and it involves the dynamic between Tommy and Rebecca inside CT Oil. Now, let me be very clear here, because I know how this sounds and I want to address it directly. The spoilers are not suggesting anything inappropriate between Tommy and Rebecca. What they are suggesting is something more nuanced and in some ways more dangerous for everyone involved. Rebecca is the COO and chief counsel of CT Oil. She is sharp, capable, and deeply loyal to Tommy in a professional sense. But she is also someone who sees the company differently than Tommy does sometimes. She has a legal mind. She thinks in terms of risk and liability and long-term protection. And Tommy, brilliant as he is, thinks in terms of deals and momentum and getting things done right now in the most direct way possible. The spoilers suggest that these two worldviews are going to clash inside CT Oil in Season 3, and that the clash is going to force some decisions that put real strain on a dynamic that everyone has been counting on. To hold the company together, what ties all of this together? The business pressure, the Angela tension, the internal friction inside CT Oil, is the fact that Tommy built this company on relationships, on trust, on the idea that the right people working together with genuine loyalty to each other can outperform larger and better resourced operations through sheer quality of connection. And Season 3 appears to be setting up a fundamental challenge to that entire philosophy. Because what happens when the relationships start showing cracks? What happens when trust gets complicated by competing interests and financial pressure and the very human reality that people change when serious stakes get introduced into the equation? Tommy has always been the kind of man who figures it out, who finds the angle, who survives. But surviving and thriving are different things. And from everything that has leaked about Season 3, the question this season seems most interested in asking is whether Tommy Miller can actually build something that lasts, or whether the same qualities that make him extraordinary at fighting through chaos also make it impossible for him to exist in the kind of stability that building something real actually requires. That is not a comfortable